right, welcome to Just Motivate. Today we have this outstanding superstar. She is a friend. I've known Dawn probably 10 years, Dawn Baumgartner. She's really passionate about really solving people's problems and building business. She's been a development guru. She's really been a connection guru. She leads Cornerstone Coaching and Consulting. And I think she's probably one of the most well-connected individuals that connects people for the right reasons in the right spaces at the right time. And so she's a joy to be around, to work with. So welcome, Dawn, to the show.
You, Anthony. That was very sweet. Thank you very much. I love that we have been in a relationship for that long and just all the cool things that we've been able to do together. And this is another one of the things to add to our list. Thank
It
you for
is.
having me.
It is. We've added a whole lot of stuff to the list. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun. So let's start with this. Tell me a little bit more about Cornerstone. I know you transitioned some ways, and Cornerstone seems like it fits you because it is you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Tell me more about Cornerstone.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So Cornerstone really came out of a lot of things that I've done over my life that the Lord really revealed to me is just the thread of what I've been doing all this time that has led me to this space, which really has a piece of education in that. So like helping people understand a little bit more about maybe what's really going on in their lives or in their businesses, and then also this idea of problem solving like you mentioned, like, right? Like we oftentimes keep hitting our heads on this proverbial ceiling and we're like, why do I keep doing that? Right. And why does it hurt so much? And so really just kind of coming in and talking about, hey, let's move that or adjust this and allow us to kind of take some ground in a new way that gets you past that, right? Like scaling those business things or even just in life, right? So many dissatisfied people since we walked through COVID a couple of years ago and our lives kind of got adjusted in a way that maybe we didn't really like and really just finding that their way again and their purpose. So yeah, that's a lot of what I get to do.
Let's dig a little bit deeper in that.
Yeah.
It has changed. I call it a leader shift. Leaders have had to
Good.
shift. Companies have shifted. Individuals have shifted. Where have you seen that shift? Because before COVID, I think people knew what they thought success was, or
Yeah.
if they have arrived, whatever arrived means. And then you had a whole lot of things go on in society all at one time. You had civil unrest, you had protests, you had COVID, you had an election, and this all happened in the same space.
Yeah.
And it made people, I think, reassess a lot of stuff. So where you work with a lot of leaders and a lot of businesses, where have you seen that change?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of things that happened to us, right? And oftentimes we get so stuck in what happened to us, maybe because we didn't get to choose it. And yet the truth is there were some things that happened for us. And I think really helping people identify the difference between some things happened to you, but then there were some things you got to choose that happened for you, maybe for your family, maybe you were so business minded. I can raise my hand on this one. Like I was running the race of like, hey, what does it look like to win, win, win at work? And I was like, hey, my people are here and my home is here and we're good. Everybody's going along, right? And yet when I got grounded and I got set back home, I had this opportunity to rediscover what I wanted that to look like. And so really, to your question, I think a lot of what happened is that when we kind of got sat down and got quiet around some things, we started to notice that, hey, maybe I don't like what I've built. And then there's that idea of, but I did this. And so like there becomes this kind of chaos between this idea that I did this to myself and I'm not sure I like it. And really one of the things I'm finding with leaders as we spend more time walking through that is they do like what they built. There's just a little bit of a disjointedness there and they have to get realigned around that again. And they need permission to say, I don't think that I do like what I built. And I'm like, okay, let's explore that, right? Let's explore because you can do anything. And so I think there's that has been a big part of what I've seen since then. People that have always done this or have been winning at a high level, questioning whether or not they're where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's okay to change paths. It's okay to divert. I think in the past, it's like, this is my path. I must stay on it. And
Mm-hmm.
it was convenient. It was easy. But I
Yep.
think there was a value to what that was. And I think that value has started to diminish some. And people are
Yes.
looking for, well, what is value? What is this value now? Because I value other things. And so I call it fulfillment. I think they're searching for a thing that's elusive to them. And so where do you see leaders now getting their joy or their fulfillment or their satisfaction?
Yeah. So twice this past week, I got to talk with leaders about that idea of like, hey, what in your life right now is driving you
Mm.
and what is draining you?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it speaks exactly to what you're talking about, this idea of fulfillment and where is that coming from? And for me, I feel like more and more what I'm hearing from these leaders is that they're spending more time in draining activities because they think they have to, or they're shitting themselves to death, right? And this concept of like, hey, let's get back over here and talk about what drives you and spend more time in that.
Yeah.
But I think leaders, just like you said, looking for those things that are fulfilling them, I think it's really significance
Mm.
or impact.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing more and more from leaders is they just want to know that what they're doing matters and that it is impacting the greater good. We've spent so much time looking out at maybe things that we thought we couldn't have, right? Like when we were thought we couldn't leave our houses, right? And so we're looking
Yeah.
out at like what we couldn't have. And so now we're looking at like, hey, how do I impact all these people around me or this area around me or these, businesses and the community around me. And so maybe it's just because that's the people I choose to hang around with and work with. But I think truly, like deep down, we all have that desire. And I think it stems from that idea of being significant or making an impact in the areas you're choosing to invest.
Yeah, it's different. Impact is different now. It's not just the bottom line. And I talk about being relational rather than transactional. And in the past, everything was a transaction, good or bad. It was a transaction. Now people want purpose in the transaction, which means it's relational. They want more purpose in what they're doing. And
Yep.
I've often said to all of my guests, nobody cares really who you work for. That's not impressive anymore. What do you
Right.
do? Who are you? We're in St. Louis, and one of the questions everybody says, "Where'd you go to high school?" Because they're trying to put you in a box, and I'm like, "Not here," because I'm not from here, so that I don't fit in the box. And so I think the important piece is, what are you doing? What's going on that is purposeful?
Yes.
Because we live in this thing called life, of which work is a part. So what are we doing that is purposeful? And I think that's what people are searching for and trying to find. So I want to ask you that. So in doing what you're doing, where do you find the purpose in it? Because I think people are trying to realign and figure out what
Mhm.
this is. So where do you find that purpose? Where do you find that fulfillment?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I love when I get to journey through the hard things with people. I got to spend some time yesterday at the Global Leadership Summit in 2024 for 2024, and Arthur Brooks, who's a professor at Harvard on the business side, but also on the psychological side, which was kind of cool, talked about this idea that satisfaction is actually the joy you get from struggling for something. And we
Say
don't
that
actually
again.
get
So
to,
pause that. Say
yeah,
that again because I think that's really say that again. That's really good.
satisfaction is the joy you actually get from struggling
Mm,
for something,
yeah, yeah,
right? And you might think about that as like deferred or delayed gratification, right? But like part of the equation to be happy or fulfilled or joyful, right, is that idea of enjoyment,
mhm.
satisfaction, and then the last thing was meaning, right? Like you talked
Right.
about, right? Like where's the meaning in that? And so those three things are what are going to create. That's what, he shared yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh, that's like incredible and totally relates to what we're talking about. And it helped me to see that like I enjoy helping people find that satisfaction, right? That idea of struggling to get to something that they want so much and helping them through that. Because oftentimes we meet resistance and we immediately back up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we're like, that must not be for me. I mean, maybe, but maybe it is.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, so what does it look like to push through that? And when you have somebody that can walk with you, like I get to do, whether I'm on the coaching side or I'm just in consulting for a period of time, we get to walk through that satisfaction, that struggling, because satisfaction also isn't something that lasts. It's something that our brain resets. After
Yeah.
we've met that, it resets and it's looking for the next opportunity. And so I love that is what fulfills me. And what I get to do is walking through that with people and getting them to the other side and then having them go, okay, I do like it over here. Right. And I did like the direction I was heading. I just didn't like the adversity or the tension that I was feeling and helping them kind of push through that tension.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure out what that equilibrium is, that flow on things because it wanes at times. I think
Yeah.
people become more resilient because of what they went through with COVID and everything else. Let me ask you this: before COVID, no one could ever conceive of something like that happening. It's going to shut down the earth.
Right.
That's a movie. That's science fiction. That just can't be true, but it was. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this: through that, what did you bring with you through that and what did you leave behind?
That's good. Yeah, that's a good question. I love it. So the things that I left behind, as driven as I am, as the my mom reminds me regularly, she's like, I think when you came out of the womb, you were like, where are we going today? What are we going to do? And what's it going to look like? And how many activities can we get into one
Probably
day?
true. Yes. Yes.
I was going to say, I don't think that surprises you. Um, and I think that I abandoned some of that, that I had to have that. I felt like that defined me
Right.
before COVID. Like if I was really bringing my A game and I was showing up places for people or in my own life, it's because of the things that I accomplished, right? That I can, like that performance orientation, that idea that like I showed up, I brought something that made a difference for other people, and I went and did that 3 or 4 times today, right? And so I abandoned the have to around that, or those needs to do that. Not completely, it's still being worked out.
Okay.
um, but I really, that's one of the things that I left behind. And I just and what I took from that with me is that that counterbalance,
Mm,
if you will, of like what it looks like to live and to work,
yeah.
and to make sure that I have some of that balance where if I'm in a season, a full season of lots of things going on, that my family knows, right? Hey, this
Right.
is a
Yeah.
season and it's starting here, and I think it ends here. And if we have to move the date, I'm okay with that. Like, but I
Yeah.
want you to know this is the season we're in right now, and this is what it looks like, so that they don't have to wonder, and I don't either. And
Yeah.
I can remind myself, and they can remind me, and the people professionally that I run with as well can remind me that I have accountability around like, hey, when was the last time you had fun with your spouse? Or when was the last time you just sat and did nothing, right? And what does that look like? So I
Yeah.
think those are probably the things I left and took with me.
If you're on social media and you find Dawn, you could tell when she's having fun. There's a beach involved. I'm just
That's
saying that.
correct.
Okay. There's a beach and there's sand somewhere involved. But
Yeah.
to that note, especially with women, I think there's this connotation that that women either can't do or can do, or they're not having fun at it. And I think there's a level of expectation that sometimes people put on themselves, society puts on women sometimes. How do you speak to young women entrepreneurs? Because I know they look to you, that try to find guidance and try to figure out, I have family, I got this job, I have this image, I got this dog, all this stuff. Because you have a dog too. We
Yeah.
talked about that yesterday. But but how do you reassess what that is? Because I think far too long, like everybody, we found our acceptance in our role, our business card, where we work, that parking space, that building, and that's changing. So how do you
Yeah.
guide some of these women who are trying to figure this out in this new set of times?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's great. And it's a very important concept, because the other thing I think about, to what you mentioned, just even our young women, and young men as well, like that's our future. Like this is
Yeah.
our next generation of people that are going to be like leading the way. And so, man, I don't want them to enter this race like I did. And yet, while I know I can't prevent that, I want to make sure that where I am given permission or invited into the conversation, that I do share like what that could look like for them. And really, when I walk into a setting, or I'm invited into a conversation with somebody who's already in that overwhelmed state, right? That idea of I have all of these things that I chose, right? I got the dog, I am doing all the things, I've got the big house, I've got the parking space with my name on it that requires me to show up in a certain way, and these kinds of
Yeah.
things really just becomes that idea of like, hey, let's just look at everything you have, and really brain dump that stuff, like get it out, and let's prioritize again through that lens of what is driving you, of the things that you're
Yeah.
doing right now. What energizes you when you wake up in the morning? What are you excited to do? Even if it's like, I'm excited to go run with the dog, and you're thinking, I don't really love that activity, but it brings me energy and joy and allows me to do the next thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we walk through that to look at how many activities, because maybe it's just an imbalance. Maybe there's just too many things on the drain list. And the concept there then becomes, let's make sure you've got enough activities in your life that are driving you and are giving you that. And then also not believing the lie, right? Like we have two resources in life, and you might think that there's more, but the truth is that we have time and we have money, right? I'll frequently tell somebody, hand me your calendar and your checkbook, and I can let you know what's a priority in your life, right?
Indeed.
And
Yeah.
and you may not want to give me both, and that's okay. I'll start with one. But the concept really becomes like, where we spend our time and or where we're spending our money really indicates those priorities. And so if I want my priorities to look more like this, I need to make sure both of those resources are pointing that direction. And if I have more money, then I might need to be leveraging some activities, right? Who else could do the things that drain me? I am very blessed, Anthony, and you know my husband, but James loves to cook. Thank you, Jesus. And I do not at all.
Yeah.
Like, I am not fulfilled by that. It does not fill my cup. I need to eat. It's important. I will
Right,
poison if I don't have food. Right. But again, it just took a clarifying conversation around, hey, babe, you like doing this. And it takes the heck out of me. I'll come home from all day and be super happy. And I cook a meal and I'm like, I lost Jesus. Like, I don't even care what happens the rest of the night. Yeah. And so we just had a clarifying conversation. And he said, I love doing that. I don't want to meal prep and I don't want to meal plan. Cool story. I can meal plan. Our 20-year-old gets to live here, so she gets to meal prep. We nominated her. and then he does the cooking. Yeah. So again, it's about just when you can see the things that are in your life and you start to identify whether they bring you joy or they make you kind of feel like you want to jump out of your world, right? Like, we just need to figure out, like, how can we get some of those things off your plate? And likely there's already people in your life that want to support you with that because people love what you're doing and they want to help you with it.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. Yeah, that's a lot of leaders when they look at Sunday night as you plan for Monday morning. Okay. When you look at your week, I put it in movie categories. Is it a horror movie? Is it a rom-com? Is it a sci-fi? Is it a documentary? Is it a war movie? When you look at your week coming up, what is it?
Good. That's good. I like it. Yeah. It's a whole new way.
It is. So when you look at your week, what do you see? Is it a rom-com? Is it an adventure? Is it sci-fi? Is it horror? I mean, what is it on a consistent basis?
Yeah. So I would say on a consistent basis, Anthony, my week is a rom-com. Like, because I am loving on people like nobody else as much as I can, right? I just want people to feel loved and accepted. And like, it is okay to be right where you are right now, even if it looks kind of messy. And then my husband has told me for years that I'm not funny, but I'm funny enough that the people that are being loved by me will deal with some of my comedy, which usually isn't as funny as it should be. But sometimes it's just a comedy of errors, right? You're like, wow, look at all that happening over there. We're to give people some space to figure that out, right? But then being there and being ready to jump in and help them. And so I would say that's probably what my week looks like when I look at it. But I'm definitely going to start giving my week categories.
It is.
And if I find it's a horror, I'm going to be making some changes.
Yeah. Are they zombies or World War Z zombies? They're different. And I got to make sure because every week can be different. And if it's a horror movie, I just need to know ahead of time. I want a surprise.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what's next for you? I know you're building your platform, you're building business. What's next for you?
Thanks. So I've done a lot in this season, a lot of one-to-one and some small group coaching, kind of moving into organizations and maybe some organizational change or creating strategic systems to help them scale and things like that. And I have loved that. But truthfully, Anthony, what's next is I'm going to find some junior coaches that want to come in and learn to do what I'm doing, because I don't have to do all the things, right? Just like what we talked about, I don't have to do all the things that I'm currently doing. And I feel like there are more people that I'm supposed to be passing this on to so that I can spend more time at the beach. I mean, like, let's be real. And because I want what I'm able to do and what I get to do with people to be passed on to other people. So I am in a season of looking for other people that are like, hey, I want to learn what you do, or I like what you do, and I want to be able to help other people with that. So that is coming next. And then the other thing is, and that's why I'm so grateful for, you inviting me to this today. I need to do more with events and larger type, like one-to-many type things. I want to make sure that my messaging is not trapped in, can you do one-to-one coaching with me? Because that, again, resources, that is tied to my time. And there's only so many hours in the week that I'm, devoting to this. And so I want to make sure the messaging gets out to other people. And so maybe it's just coming and sitting with me for, an afternoon and being able to do that with, 50 people in a room. And all those people walk out with the ability to do some of the things that I'm working with my clients on. So yeah, that's really what's next.
Yeah, you're really gifted at what you do. So scaling it is going to be important. More people need to hear it. Maybe not as in depth, but they need to hear what you have to say. So that's really important. So last two questions. Okay, I ask everybody. First one is, money doesn't matter. We start right
Okay.
there. You got 30 days. Where you going? Who you going with?
Ah, ooh, that's good. So I'm kind of a creature of habit. And so I am definitely going to the Dominican Republic
Okay.
to be on we have a resort there that we enjoy going to very much. And so I will go there and definitely taking James with me, who doesn't enjoy vacationing as much as I do. So 30 days will be a real stretch for him, Anthony. I might have to swap him out partway through.
I got you. I got you.
He really likes his house
Yeah.
and his dog and his job. But anyway, so yeah, so James and I in the Dominican, and then I think I'll have different people come in as the weeks go on. So Kirsten also, our daughter, is not a huge vacation girl, but I'm gonna get her and her best friend to come and just get away and spend some time at the beach. That's where I just get filled up, and really I'll feel like too I get to receive those next assignments, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's that. I'll bring all my favorite people in for a couple of weeks and get to do that.
I got you. I got you. Last question.
Yeah.
Billboard. You can put anything on a billboard that you want, a phrase, a term, a quote, a word. It's the only billboard on the highway. And driving down the street is the 20-year-old Dawn. Dawn is going to see that billboard. It's going to change your life. What's on your billboard?
That's good. That is good. I think probably just the word impact.
Mm. Tell me
Yeah.
more. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
impact. I think that we have been created with a very special purpose to come into this world and make a difference,
Yeah.
and to leave behind the things that we were like, not just to make an impact with the people that we get to have face to face with, but that legacy will continue, and that other people will get to hear about that as well, whether they say Dawn or Anthony or whoever's name, doesn't matter, but that ripple effect will continue. And I think just when I walk into a space, I say frequently, you can't pay me enough money to do something if there's not impact there, if I can't make a difference, if I'm not the right person, which is why I love knowing other great coaches like you, that I can say, hey, I am not your girl, but I know who you need to meet, right? Let me
Yeah.
connect
Yeah.
you to Anthony, right? And
Yeah.
so, but I just think impact, like, where can we make an impact today? What am I doing today that will make an impact, or that could make an impact, even if the people that I'm, impacting don't realize it yet? Because again, there's no better way to just leave our mark and make sure that people can continue to grow and learn and make an impact for other people.
Yeah, and you do that because you really make other lives better in those encounters. And you are funny too. Don't let people tell you you're not funny. You are funny too.
Thank
Because
you.
we laugh, and it's so funny. We'll be in Starbucks, and we'll be the loudest people in Starbucks, and I'm
Yeah,
okay with that.
yeah,
It doesn't bother me at all.
that's right. Yeah,
You
me
know,
either. And people are probably having fun talking about how loud we are, and that's
yeah,
okay too,
it's okay.
right?
They'll be all right.
Yeah,
I love it that you are just you, and you're genuine, you're authentic in that. And I think that's what people are drawn to. And I think that's what people are missing out on in society, is that authenticity of leadership, of connection, of relationship. So I
yeah,
appreciate you keeping on doing that. I hope you get back down to the DR soon, which I know you probably will, and you'll post it out there with your feet in the sand. And
yes.
so, but it's a great place to go. And so I really appreciate it. And so we'll connect again sometime soon, because I think as you start to expand, we will connect more and more, because in our
Love it.
community here, I think people are looking for direction. They're looking for that coach, that consultant. I call it that Sherpa, who's
Yeah,
not, because I'm not, you and I are not enamored by the journey. We've been up and down the mountain. So it's like, hey, I want to get you there,
that's
and I
right.
want you to have the best experience you can have at getting up onto this mountain. And
Yes.
so people always think, I got to get to the summit. Everybody didn't get to the summit, but you can have a great journey irrespective if you get there or not. So yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate you, and we'll talk again soon. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.